Our defence forces appear to have escaped the knife being wielded due to the $12 billion budget black hole. The government has just released its defence white paper this morning with promises of more high-tech weaponry and a commitment to no further spending cuts. Jane Azzopardi is at the Fairbairn RAAF base in Canberra for us. And Jane, what are the details?
Good morning, Ross. Well, this is the government's 2013 Defence White Paper. There are a lot of details in there, 120-odd pages. So I'll go through a few of them with you. You started by talking about the budget. There is a black hole. The government is going to be announcing cuts, but they won't be coming from defence this year. In fact, there's actually going to be a slight increase in the defence budget over the forward estimates. It'll be the second time over the forward estimates that defence budget has been over $100 billion. The government has also committed to trying to bring defence spending as a proportion of GDP back towards 2%. It hasn't been there since 2000. It's been under 2% since then. And the government says that when it's in the financial position, that's what it wants to do. Now, in terms of personnel and hardware, we find out in this white paper that there are no plans to reduce military numbers. Taking a look at future submarines, the government has now narrowed the choices there down to two, either an evolved Collins-class submarine that would be built in Adelaide or an entirely new model. And then when we look at the Air Force, they're going to be purchasing 12 new planes called Growlers. That's instead of changing half of the Super Hornets into Growlers. And that's going to allow the Air Force, to maintain that capacity while they wait for the strike, the Joint Strike Fighters to come into force. This is what Julia Gillard had to say about the Growlers, which are going to cost $1.5 billion over the next 4 years. Have a listen.
The Growler is the electronic warfare variant of the Super Hornet. This capability purchase will allow Australia to retain its existing 24 Super Hornets in their current air combat configuration, whilst also maintaining 12 Growler aircraft.
Now, Jane, does this say something about our relationships in the region and most particularly with China?
Well, there is a big focus on our region in this defence white paper, and the language towards China has certainly softened. In this paper, the government says it does not see China as an adversary. That's despite making lots of mentions about China's rise and the modernisation of its military. There is a lot of focus on the US-China relationship, and this report makes clear that that is what is going to be responsible for the stability of this region. As I said, there's a bigger focus on the Indo-Pacific in this white paper. This is what the Defence Minister Stephen Smith had to say.
The rise of China, the rise of India, the emergence of Indonesia as a global influence, the rise of the ASEAN economies combined, all of this sees a consolidation of strategic forces in our part of the world. Central to this will be the bilateral relationship between China and the United States. And that relationship is essential for stability, peace, security and prosperity in our part of the world. And we welcome the ongoing efforts on the part of China and the United States to have a positive, productive military, strategic, political and economic relationship.
Well, as you'd expect, this white paper also says that Australia's most important military alliance is with the United States, although in our region, our relationship with Indonesia is particularly important, although this white paper makes clear that Australia isn't really expecting much of a threat anytime soon. Ross?
Jane Azzopardi at the RAAF base at Fairbairn. We appreciate your time.